Hey, I'm Mr. Terry, high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher X video. All right, you guys have been loving the kind of return to habitual linecrosser stuff. And since I've been covering some current events lately, it's kind of made sense to dive in. Anyway, his latest is called Feed Me Oil. At least that's how I assume like it should be said. And we'll see what he's got. The original video link is linked down below. Make sure you're supporting him. Give his video a view and of course like it. And like this video you're watching right now if you want me to keep covering this stuff. And as always, channel members, you got to see this first. All right, here we go. Now, if you guys have been watching me for a long time, and you're also, of course, fans of Habitual Linecrosser, and he's a great supporter of the channel, I hope you understand that one of my goals is to add nuance to any type of video. It doesn't matter if it's comedy, if it's a serious journalistic approach to current events or an historical video. Call it, I don't know, devil's advocate, if you will. Just trying to make sure we fill holes in or emphasize certain things in certain types of narratives, simply for the goal of creating more informed opinions. So I'm not here to ever validate you or anyone watching anything. I know for a lot of reactors, that's kind of just what they do and why it's appealing to a lot of people. They want to watch somebody watch something and have them feel the same way that you do. But as an educator, I think do that to an extent, but expect me to chime in at things. Maybe I say certain things, or maybe I frame things in a way that may sound like disagreements or something, but we call it nuance. But regardless, let's have fun together. Here we go.
American forces have already been worn down. And you see the leaders over there, everyone, they want a ceasefire. Well, they will not get any from Iran.
Well, I mean, ceasefire, say it like that. It's not really a ceasefire in the sense that they would be saying, especially if the American administration is saying it's got to be unconditional surrender, which though is problematic for the fact that what are the conditions? And if you want there to be a regime change, definitely becomes complicated. They're really killing everybody that is in leadership positions. So there's no really anyone to have a surrender with. Everybody is dying in the leadership structure. In that sense, I guess it would end in a ceasefire. England, what's England doing?
Did you really ask for a ceasefire? Well, I mean, technically, yeah.
An unconditional surrender.
Same way Mad Dog Mattis told the Iraqis way back when, don't fuck with me or I will kill you all. Same principle. I was just like, hey man, look, you guys are losing your ass out here. Let's just cut to the chase. You guys capitulate. We go on from there. No one else has to, meet their God.
Oh, geez. Yeah, ceasefire in the modern sense, like if you call about World War I when they agreed to the ceasefire, November 11th, 1918, you do the ceasefire and then you enter the diplomatic negotiations, right? To try to end things, or you don't agree to the terms after the ceasefire and then you keep firing back and forth at each other. You've seen that in modern conflicts as well, with all the issues, say, between like Israel and Gaza. You'll have these moments of ceasefires and then they get broken and then there's just new things going on. And yeah, one of the problems with this one is anybody you would do negotiations with, they're being killed. So there's not even really the possibility of offering a surrender because who is surrendering? They're all dying.
If we stop shooting at them and I still haven't got to smoke an aircraft, I'm burning this whole motherfucker down.
Okay, so the vibe I get from him, and you guys are doing such a good job, by the way, of telling me the lore. I always ask, like, who are the characters? Give me the lore. And maybe somebody needs to give me like a rundown and then a quiz at the end or something. But this guy seems like just like the bloodthirsty adrenaline hog guy. He's kind of got the modern jet. He just wants to blow crap up. He's like insane.
Kid, I'm going to be honest with you. At this point, I'm wondering if someone at the Department of War watches my videos and they're just doing it for the lore at this point. I just said at this point twice. But anyways, the point still stands.
Speaking of lore.
This is getting stupid, man. The nerd got some. The old man got some.
Wait, who is the nerd again? Is he the submarine? I know Grandpa Buff is. He's the old fighter jet. And he's just the non-politically correct dude stuck with World War II era biases and stereotypes and stuff. Wait, who's the nerd again? Let me know.
But Buff got some. Like, hell, even Patriot got some. We sank a ship with a fucking torpedo.
First time since World War II.
That hasn't happened in 80 years. I've been around for less than 30. It's his ass. We tried to be cool with people. Other
Is he
boats
the
figured
nerd?
it the fuck out. I mean, after we smoked that one, there's
By the way, they sank a ship out by like Sri Lanka. It's nowhere near the combat area.
other boats figured it the fuck out. I mean, after we smoked that one, there's right now unconfirmed reports that there was an individual on that ship who said that we tried to tell them to stop and surrender several times before we did it. They should have fucking stopped.
You look like a giant metal wiener with canards. I'm not taking anything from you.
Yeah.
Giant metal wiener. Oh my gosh. So he's jealous, right? So he's jealous. They're not seeing all this air-to-air combat like he would want. It's the bombing operations. All right, Australia. Was there Australians on that boat? Was that right?
Now, Mike, I understand you're pretty mad about the circumstances.
Australia.
It was pretty cool watching that shit happen. There's a couple of Aussies on board that. Fuck, that's hard to say. On board that submarine.
Australia.
And fucking hell.
I actually have a hard time if I have to bounce back and forth between an Australian and a British accent, even though there's a lot of things that are different about them. But I'm actually more likely to do an Australian accent trying to do a British accent than the other way around.
They just blew out the back of an enemy ship, and it was like, all right,
It's like, all right.
let's buy some more Mark 48s.
Damn. Hey, Jesse, you having a stroke or something?
There are certain days that I wake up and some accents evade me. Yes.
Get a
Well,
bad
on the plus
accent
side,
days.
Glass half full type thing. The fact that I didn't go out there means that they didn't have a chance to shoot at me. Now the F-15's 104 and 3.
Kid, I've always been fucking nice to you, but how about you shut your mouth before I fuck it?
Wait, which one's this guy? Is he more like the matured fighter pilot guy? You know what I mean? Like like in the latest Top Gun, you have the seasoned veteran like Tom Cruise, and you got the new up and coming guys that are just like amped up, ready to go, and have no clue.
Look, man, still a great record. I'm pretty sure it's still the top combat aircraft on the planet. But, a win's a win, a lose.
I'm bad at knowing the different aircraft.
I
I'm
don't
not
care
gonna
what
lie.
your little trash panda's throwing in your ear, but that doesn't count, okay? That's like somebody sneaking into your hangar and popping one of your tires. Does that mean that they are now 1-0 against the F-22? Hell no. I was over friendly skies and friendly area. I wasn't trying to evade anything, and some dumbass Kuwaiti shot me.
Yeah, those first, American casualties shot down at Kuwait. It seems like friendly fire of some sorts. Yeah. Of course, on the other side, Iranian population, man, they're in the thousands with death there, and a lot of civilians in that too. It's also all but basically now been confirmed and accepted. It looks like from American military operations that girls' school that killed like 150 young people and teachers and stuff like that was indeed an American missile of some sorts that was a mishit. So, yep, very tragic. But it did show something interesting, which the whole fog of war thing, and especially in modern day media, how how many different explanations people were not only giving but repeating, because people are so bent on pushing a narrative that it supports an already preconceived notion. We live in a dangerous time for that. With the democratization of media, you got to be careful out there.
This is something I actually have to explain. When it first came out, CENTCOM, of course, stated that it was an air defense system. Now, you could probably stretch that enough to say that it was an enemy F-18.
Automatic, almost.
Friendly F-18.
Shot by another plane,
running
maybe?
DCA or defensive counter-air. However, the more I look at it and I actually see the videos, it looks like an F-18 is in close proximity,
right.
within visual range.
Trust his opinion way
I didn't see
more
them
than
actually
mine.
get engaged, but the engagement style and the hit does make sense. Let me put this in perspective for you. When Patriot engages something, you have a more or less 3,000-pound telephone pole traveling at Mach fuck, and it targets the cockpit. As far as I know, there are 0 credible reports in history, including some fratricide incidents as well as Ukraine, where an enemy pilot or a pilot in general survived a Patriot engagement.
Dang, they're that successful, I guess. And hitting the cockpit there, you're shooting a bullet with a bullet, pretty much. You're talking about things at these speeds. How accurate consistently are they to hitting the cockpit? Anyone know that?
Just because of the way it engages. I'm not saying it's beyond reasonable doubt, but it's unlikely. Plus, the jet that I saw going down was in a flat spin. It looked like it was hitting the tail.
Okay.
Patriot's not going to aim for the tail, and it's a proximity warhead for Pac.
So that makes me, I wonder again, how accurate are those to actually hitting the cockpit? It blows my mind they can have that much accuracy on something not that big, moving that fast and being that accurate. I have no idea. Either way is the point that it does change things when you talk about it being accident versus just like incompetence, I guess.
It's hitting the tail. Patriot's not going to aim for the tail, and it's a proximity warhead for PAC-2s. It's hit to kill for PAC-3s. That plane would be in several pieces. The more I look at this, if it was hit by Patriot, it was a flyover that they engaged as a cruise missile. It's possible, but that would still kind of disintegrate most of that aircraft. As for an F-18 using like an AIM-9, that would have caused the amount of damage that we've seen. The fact that the F-15s didn't dump flares and chaff, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have their radar warning receivers on. I don't know all the details there.
Someone put that into like normal speak for me. What is the big dilemma? Is it about the difference between like an automatic ground to air defense system triggering this versus like, again, incompetence of, it was actually manually intercepted, that kind of thing. Is that what the dilemma is here? Correct me down below, or clarify if you would down below.
Can I get a hit?
No.
Oh, bedtime, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all, read the room, man.
Wait.
Where the fuck are we?
Okay, wait. Why is the like stealth bomber act like some kind of stoner? What's the lore there? Why is he like that? I would have thought almost he would be like the nerd with that, technology, the stealthness to it. Is it because he flies so high that he gets high?
America, did you really have a protest in New York City that ended in
IED.
Someone throwing an IED
Explosion.
into the protest? Yeah, anti-Islam protesters, and I don't know if they're just against Islam or Islamist extremism.
Most people in the West don't know the difference.
Same thing if you ask me.
Yep. There you go. Most people are grandpa buff.
That may be kind of a racist joke, but at this point in time, with everything going on in the U.S. as of late, I think a lot of the American public are figuring out we can't really tell the difference between non and extremists.
It's impossible for anybody to. And that's why we give up on it, unfortunately. And the collateral damage is insane. We see this in all the engagements. If we're talking about from the American perspective of wars, especially since World War II, we're talking about operations in these countries where you have insurgencies or resistance movements, and they are civilians. These aren't armies on battlefields. They are part of society and intermixed into it. And the collateral damage becomes so much that it probably just desensitizes it where you don't care about that anymore. And all people are seen as combatants. Shoot, you can look at testimonies from Americans that fought in Vietnam, where they're like, we stopped caring about trying to vet who is part of the Viet Cong and who is just an everyday, farmer, because assuming the best, can actually end up hurting you. And once that happens and you assume, someone isn't an enemy combatant, and then you pay the price for that, makes you desensitized to it forever on. That's why these type of conflicts have to be taken very seriously, of whether you're going to engage in them or if it's worth engaging them.
Yeah, so they threw it into there. Two guys that were arrested. Their names are something 9/11-y. I'm not sure. What do you mean? That was an isolated incident, correct? Oh, God no. No, we had to evacuate part of the airport in Kansas City, Missouri, due to a credible bomb threat. We had the IED in New York. We had the shooting in Texas with a guy quite literally wearing a hoodie that says "Property of Allah." It's not a hard stretch there. And then very recently,
I think I just heard right before I came on here. I think there was an attack at a synagogue. That's all I've heard. I don't know anything about that. And what I had heard, it was done by somebody who's, I think, and again, the fog of war stuff, but first thing I had heard, and I have to confirm, obviously, was that his family was killed by an Israeli attack in, I think, Lebanon. And in a irate fashion, then just takes it out on some random synagogue, like it, has anything to do with it. Hate this kind of stuff that happens, man.
oh shit, what was the other thing?
The dude on the plane. Oh, shit, I guess that really doesn't narrow down Islamist extremism. The recent one on the Southwest flight.
Oh yeah, but
ground
we
a
had
plane
that Southwest flight that had to make an emergency landing due to a credible threat. There's videos of them like scooping the guy off of there.
The planes and stuff like that, they don't mess around with stuff that even is mildly a threat. You could be an angry Karen complaining about getting the wrong meal on the plane, and they're going to ground that thing, and they don't mess with stuff in the air when it comes to potential hazards.
We don't know exactly what he said or did at the time of me recording this. Look, there's been a lot of talk about racial profiling and stuff like that, and I don't think people fully understand the power that like a ship or a plane captain has.
They don't mess around,
You can
man.
detain somebody without trial for an extended period of time, at least till you get somewhere they can face trial. You can incarcerate people. You can marry people, divorce people. Like you are.
Is that really a thing? Like, yeah, like marrying, like as the captain of the ship, I can like marry somebody. Yeah, you have like legal power to do that. Is that actually true? They've like heard of that, but I don't know for sure. Anyone confirm?
You can incarcerate people. You can marry people, divorce people. Like you are
You could
judge,
divorce
jury, and
people?
executioner of that flight and or ship.
True.
Not to sound Islamophobic, but it appears that those people, those bad actors, don't necessarily mesh well with Western values and opinions.
Ill-defined term gets thrown around too much.
How do you think I feel? I've been opposing them and protesting extremism for 20 years, except I do it the farthest thing from peacefully.
And indiscriminately.
Now you have taken
Iran's back.
responsibility for the strike on the little school full of children. How could you do that, America?
He's about to say, are you kidding me, Iran? Stuff that you've done to protesters and all of those things, but trying to attack they would seen as the moral superiority that the Americans, I guess, try to portray there, but you're going to be able to refute that pretty easily with what's gone on in Iran historically as well. That's my prediction of the counter here.
As far as I am aware at this time, CENTCOM has said that
we
was
could
a
talk about
missed shot
this,
by
right.
us. I know previous reports were saying the IRGC took responsibility
Right.
for it. There's a lot in the fog of war right now, but at the time of me recording this, the U.S. said, hey, that's our screw up.
Yeah, it depends what you mean by the U.S., because that stuff's also been deflected by the political side of things, the administration and stuff like that. Like, from the military perspective and that saying, yeah, that was, a mishit. And that took a long time to come around because it seems that now a lot of third party investigators have all but concluded that. But it's also important to, if you remember, how many different narratives came out of that within hours. That it was like it was like an inside job, and it was like a misfired Iranian rocket. And boy, have you been able to tell how people will run with narratives without confirming them if it already supports something they already believe in, or a narrative that they've already tried to control, but will be very, very patient if it's something that it goes against your narrative, and be patient, either deflect it or really want to provide sources and confirmation. The biggest thing to understand is, do you have an equal approach to all types of events, regardless of your position? Because that's the honest position, right?
And I admit to my screw ups. Okay, pop quiz, Iran. How many places in the Middle East have you bombed where you have hit nothing but military targets?
All of them.
No, they've bombed all over the region, and yes, in civilian areas. There's been airports. There's been like apartment buildings of civilian areas. Iran's defense is going to be a couple things. It's that the rules of war have not applied because U.S. is going after heads of state against international law, but no one cares about that. But also civilians, being killed means that the line has been crossed, and therefore there are no lines anymore. The other Iranian defense is going to be that, these countries are all places that have helped support the U.S. They have bases there and are tied close there. And he's become desperate. That becomes the last pieces of leverage in there. Now, the biggest piece of leverage, though, in this, of course, is the whole global economy. And I don't know if he's talking about this much, but the big thing now is essentially the Strait of Hormuz, which is basically the gateway of all Middle Eastern oil shipments, is effectively closed now. It's a very small strait of water, and it is having global economic effects already. Something like 20% of oil exports go through this narrow strait of water, with some countries being almost completely dependent on it. And you're already seeing gas prices are now going to be way up, and then everything tied to gas and oil, which are all products, are all going to increase. And that is something that's going to be very, very difficult and will only increase right now, especially because recently there have been bombings of oil installations, oil depots and stuff like that, which hurts everybody. Yeah, Rabbit, it hurts the entire global community. And just potentially talked about that mines may be put in the Strait of Hormuz. And if that happens and if an oil, tanker wants to go through and it gets attacked, we're going to have an environmental disaster like we have not seen with other oil spills and stuff in history. We're talking about an area that would have to be closed off. The environmental hazards will not be able to allow shipments and stuff to go through. And it's something that would take months and months and months of restoration and cleanup. And all of these installations, as they get bombed, you're talking about things that are going to need potentially years to rebuild. So you're talking about an economic situation that will last many, many months minimum if it goes on like it is right now.
Because your military is everywhere.
Except that's not fucking true.
The military is
videos
everywhere,
of your Shahed
but
drones
they are hitting
bouncing
civilian
off
areas.
of giant buildings that are nothing but hotels and apartments.
Right.
I'm sure.
The UAE hates this stuff because they are a tourism destination. They're an international country. They have hotels, fancy stuff like that, and airports. That kills them.
There are some Americans and Israelis that live in those apartment buildings.
There you go. That's the classic thing that everybody says. I bombed that hospital. A lot of Iranian hospitals have been bombed, by the way. But yeah, you get the bombing of these places, and your always defense will be there were some enemies in there. Iran will do it for these type of places. You hear the rhetoric by the other side of like Israel bombing, hospitals and stuff. It's maybe in like Gaza. They'll say, well, there's Hamas in there, and all those things might be true. But the collateral damage is always huge. But you'll always have that excuse that there were enemies in there. And it's very unlikely that you really have to produce evidence to that fact. And enough evidence, and still even with that, the justification for the collateral damage of civilians. One of the awful things that happens in war. It sucks.
Step 2 in extremism. It follows the same line that it has
talking too
forever.
much.
Step 1, you beat your chest, saber rattle a whole bunch.
True.
Step 2, you start getting your ass absolutely kicked. So then you start playing the victim and trying to find anything to justify the atrocities that you're completing.
A lot of times people do that from the get-go, though. Usually people do that from the get-go. But yeah, it's going to ramp up as the worse you're doing. Start to justify things.
Just important to remember to everyone trying to wade through this bullshit. And don't get me wrong, I got by an AI image very recently. It was really, really good. The fog of war is very thick, but one side is actually admitting to anything they've done wrong.
Well, you're seeing a lot of deflection from the American politicians, though, involved in this, because, when they talk about the attack of on Iranian hospitals, or again, the school, it usually is trying to be deflected, being like, why are you focusing on these negative things and not on the, positive aspects of this? You got to understand that there's going to be this type of things that happen. So when we say one side is, I guess, admitting to it, that's a pretty vague statement because some are deflecting and minimizing. The military might come up and, say that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it was a mishit or whatever, especially after approached with third-party evidence. So it's just say one side is admitting to it. There's levels to that for sure. And depends on who you're talking about within that side. With politicians, their job is to make the narrative a positive one. There's almost nothing beneficial about admitting to the bad parts. There actually probably is none. Military, they can wash their hands a little bit cleaner of that, especially because there's not going to be accountability coming from the up above, from like, say, the executive department or something like that, since the military is under in our country, under the executive branch. It's not like a Japan situation.
Yeah, the other side just keeps fucking dying. Which Ayatollah are you guys on now?
Third.
We are only on our second.
No,
The
third.
other two that you killed, they were interim. They hadn't been.
Well, yeah, okay. So officially they had third. They had the original with Khomeini, and then Khomeini, and then his son now in there. But in between then, before that, there were a whole bunch of people. So much of that department, their whole like State Department, both the secular side of things and the theocratic side of things, have been destroyed in this. So the chain of command is changing literally every day.
The other two that you killed, they were interim. They hadn't been voted into office yet.
Who is it?
Well, you don't vote in, if you're talking about supreme leader, the Ayatollah, they're not voted in. They're in by a council. It's not the democratic process that you see for like their president. The Ayatollah comes from the kind of clerical community there.
Like I'm going to tell the likes of you.
Going into hiding, man.
Why won't you tell me? Is it because they keep dying?
Oh, Japan.
War used to have honor. The entire time we fought the United States in World War II, they knew exactly who was in charge in Japan.
Except there wasn't. That's not how Japan operated. It was one of their biggest downfalls in World War II. Political structure, army, navy, all that stuff, honestly, operating independently. Literally, why you had the Navy planning like Pearl Harbor attacks, you had the political side and negotiators that were talking with the Americans about the oil embargo and stuff. And then there's these countless amount of stories about the Army and Navy not working very well together in World War II, out competing each other. And they didn't have the streamlined structure like we have in the United States, where all those departments are basically under the executive branch. Yeah, you have the Japanese emperor, but that dude doesn't even go in public. People hadn't even seen him or even like heard of him in public. It's not like it was there. And it was a major downfall for the Japanese, of course, in World War II.
Then you just hide who's in charge because you know Uncle Sam will come a knocking.
True.
You don't know anything about what we're doing. America, we don't want to tell you because it is a secret, and they are in a secret bunker in a secret location, and they are making secret plans to use our secret weaponry because we know that we have wasted all of your interceptors in the area, and we're using only the ones that can get through now. We will be.
Now, there has been a problem, by the way, that's happening now, is a lot of these Patriot missiles and stuff being fired, and the ammunition, the supplies are growing much shorter. We've heard that the U.S. is now borrowing basically billions of dollars for now this effort because of how extensive, the usage of all these materials have been. It's going to become an economic strain right now that will... Surely you're going to see more reporters and politicians pressing on that issue of the economic viability of this war, and going to be made even worse with the incoming imminent global economic downturn that has already started.
Shooting less missiles, but they will be doing more damage.
Sure, right.
Save all your good munitions until you're about to collapse. I don't remember reading that in The Art of War.
That's because they are secret.
Okay. Let's make this simple.
Okay.
Are you going to surrender?
The nation of Iran will never surrender to you or your allies, the Kurdish fighters.
Oh, okay. I got things to say on both of those, though. But the problem right now is with all of the, death of all the leaders, who is it that's supposed to be surrendering? Everybody that's capable of doing negotiations are all dying. Now, this next Ayatollah, the son of the previous one who's coming in, I need to look. He's, I think, finally giving some statements now that he's kind of been chosen. And I haven't seen what those are, but my prediction, it's probably come out by the time this video has come out, is I don't think the rhetoric is going to be one of trying to find probably a peaceful solution in this. From his perspective there, basically his whole family has been killed. And then with the basically accepting the inevitability of a death that he probably is come to terms with, I don't think you're going to see that rhetoric. Which then will push everything back into the United States as what does this end? How does this end? Because it probably won't be able to be done in the hands of Iran. because there isn't an Iran in the sense of a state that you can negotiate with, because there's no one to negotiate with.
That's fair. You know, them Kurdish fighters, they don't really have a lot of support by themselves. So we're willing to support.
Yeah, and that's happened a lot. A lot of foreign groups have supported the Kurds. And if you're making historical predictions, which are usually the best thing you can make predictions of the future on, is that these people will be supported, they will fight, they will die, and they will get nothing in the end. That is the history of the Kurdish people in this region. I'm talking a group of people spread across a good 4 countries in this area that want a totally autonomous Kurdistan by hopefully getting territory from these places. And every time they do and help, whether it's in Syria or again in Iran or Iraq, it never happens. So history says that they will be screwed over once again, which makes me just wonder until then they turn their back on those that have helped them in the past, which in a lot of ways can almost seem surprising that it hasn't happened, because we've seen people turn on allies for much more petty things than that. Okay, who is this guy?
Gonna make the highway of death look like a fucking tea party.
And while we're providing close air support, Buff, do
Highway of Death. That was Iraq War, right? If I remember right.
me a solid. Break their back. Take out the oil.
Ah, this brings me back.
gosh.
Well, like that quote from, what is that, Super Troopers.
Look back to that. Taking out their oil is the problem because they export their oil. Their oil is our oil, and ours means the world. I already talked about this. The bombing of these sites now and the stop of already oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz is going to have, and is starting already to have, economic ripples that are going to be devastating, disproportionately depending on the countries. But there are a lot of countries that are going to really, really struggle for this and end up turning them in potentially to look for more economic deals with people that the United States might consider adversaries, say Russia, say China. That's usually what happens in a lot of these situations with these conflicts, is the winners out of them don't actually become the Americans. It actually becomes American adversaries where people will have to turn to them for their basic needs.
Drop your socks and grab your toes.
Time to show you where the wild goose goes.
Does that in the jail? God, Super Troopers. I need to watch that again. I used to love that movie in high school. Anyway. Final thoughts. All right, guys, I hope you appreciated it. We had some fun watching that, but hopefully you're able to appreciate some of the things I was to add. Again, some of the nuance to it, some of the things that maybe change, I guess, some of the framing of things. I do it all with, of course, good intentions of rounding out perspectives. Appreciate Habitual Linecrosser being such a good supporter of my channel. He's really likes that, that I do the reactions. He's been so great coming onto my channel and getting their support. And I know he appreciates the interjections that I put into and the other nuanced things. His whole crew does. Fat Electrician, likes all that stuff too. And I appreciate how open they are to people looking at their content. And then someone like me who tries to add other things that may, change some of the narrative or add more perspectives to it. That's something I always appreciate with these guys. By the way, the next original video from my original content channel is coming out soon. It's on the 4th Crusade. That was the crazy one. Look out for that in the next few days. See you next time.